Hello friends and fellow crafters, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Deepa from DeeZinesByD, and today I have the final post in my Spellbinders October Club Kit series for you. So this post is going to focus on the APG die of the month, which happens to be a Poinsettia surprise envelope card. And I'm also going to show you the 3D embossing folder and how I use that to create this card at the very end. So let's go ahead and look at this die set, and you can see even on the magnetic sheet here, it looks gorgeous. You have all of these extra poinsettias and 2 sentiment strips that you can use along with the main contents of the die set. Now, as for the embossing folder, you can see that this one is called Scattered Christmas, and there's a whole bunch of Christmas images included on the embossing folder, including branches, mistletoe, holly, and ornaments. So the first thing I want to do as I get started to work on the APG die is to cut everything out. So I've done all the cutting, but I'll go over everything with you right now. So I actually have the main base of the die. So you need to cut 2 of these, and the main theme or the magic number for this card is going to be 2. Everything you have to cut out basically 2 times. So the next thing I'm picking up here is the main face of the die. I've got a border piece which will cut out a background, and then I've also got the detail portion where you can basically attach these 2 together with some washi tape and then cut out a nice detailed frame. So I've cut out the frame 2 times, and I decided not to cut out the background. See, this piece here, you could have cut out a different color to put that detail piece on, but I decided not to. You could, and that could change the complete look of your card altogether. Now you've also got this triangle piece here. It's the same idea. You're going to cut out 2 of the background piece and the detail after attaching the 2 dies together for the detail. And then there's another triangle piece, a smaller one. Same idea. 2 of the detail, 2 of the background. I didn't use this because it's actually just forming a bit of a detail piece on the side there to be the back of your card as it opens. But I decided I didn't really think it was necessary because I really wanted that holly piece to show through and not to cover it up too much. Now you also have this longer rectangle piece. You need 2 of those for either side of the envelope box card. And then you've got this bigger piece, which is going to be the 2 panels that go on the inside that gives your 3D envelope some more 3D-ness, I guess. It's basically what you're going to set all the extra poinsettias on the inside of the envelope. Now, once you've got all of these cut out, those are all of the main elements to assemble the actual envelope, and you need 2 of all of those. Now, let's move on to the detail pieces. The detail pieces are just basically how you're going to decorate your envelope. So these are all of them. I've cut them all out. You get 3 petals for the poinsettias, and that's a set. So that's going to create 1 flower. So I've cut that out of some plum cardstock. So that's just white cardstock that I put some plum ink on. I cut that out, or the set, 3 times. I cut the same set out 2 times from some shimmer vellum, and then another 2 times from some ivory glitter cardstock. So that's going to give me 7 poinsettias in total. Then you've also got this little filigree piece, which I also cut out of the plum cardstock. You've got these smaller little centers. You get 3 of them in the set, so you don't have to cut them out as much for the 7 poinsettias. And then you've also got the leaves, which I've cut out of some gold matte metallic cardstock. And you can see that you get 2 larger leaves and then 2 smaller leaves. The 2 larger leaves are connected. I basically just cut that out about 6 times, I think. And then you've got 2 sentiment strips that you can use to cut out your sentiments. So I cut one 'Tis the Season out of the plum cardstock, and then I cut another piece without the sentiment, just out of some gold, which is going to go behind it. And there's no actual die for that. All you have to do is just cut out a thin strip using a guillotine cutter or your cutting apparatus, whatever it is that you use. So let's go ahead and put this together. Now you're going to take one of those base pieces and you're going to cut off the top flap of the envelope. And keep that top flap because you will need it. Now we're going to take that triangle die and we're going to affix it to the flap that we just cut off so that we cut out a border. And I'm attaching the tape beneath the die so that it doesn't attach to the border, so it comes off nicely. So you can see how that's cut. So this little V is basically going to go on the inside of the card after you cut out a triangle to create the back of the envelope. So the next thing you're going to want to do is basically add your design to the card. So this is the part that's going to be the front, and I did also add it to the back just to kind of get this part kind of all done. So all I'm doing is adding some glue to those holly frames, and I'm attaching it to the square, or the rectangle portion of the card. And then I'm also going to attach one of the triangle portions to the flap that's still there on that piece. Now I'm also adding these longer metallic strips to either side, or I guess to the side portions of the envelope box card. And you'll also want to add the hollies if you are adding those little berries. There's small little circles that come as one die that you can cut out and add those as the berries. I'm just going to use gems in the end, so I'm not adding that here. Now I also want to mention that there's those two smaller triangle pieces that I didn't cut out. I'm not using it, but if you are using it, don't add those yet. Add those later. Now you can see I'm taking that triangle piece again, and I'm putting it on this piece that we cut the flap off of. Now I have to cut the opening of my envelope, so how it would look when you turn the envelope to the back. And all I'm doing to do that is taking the same rectangle die, and I'm placing it here on that piece that we cut the flap off of, and I'm making sure there's an equal space on either side of it, and just putting this through my die cutting machine to cut that off. You can see that cuts nice and clean, and this is why you have to put your detail element and your berries and all of that on this piece already, because you're going to cut part of it off. Next, I'm grabbing that little V that we cut out earlier, and I'm just attaching that to this. And this is just going to give it more of a finished look. Now, you actually could have just cut that piece out of some gold cardstock and added that to give it more of a finished look if you wanted as well. So now I'm realizing that when I fold this, the inside is going to show. So I'm taking that piece that I cut and I'm affixing it here. Now, this was a little bit of a mistake. I actually could have used the second triangle frame that I did cut out to put that here instead. So I would recommend doing that instead. I do end up fixing this little mistake a bit later on, but I'll show you how I do that when I get to it. So there you see I've attached that portion that we cut off, that we just cut off of the inside of the card. So now that I've got that there, I'll go ahead and try to assemble this. Now you can see that I've folded everything, and I'm just adding some strong double-sided adhesive to that little flap. I'm lining it up with the curve at the bottom of the envelope and then sticking it together. Now only do this to one side, because remember you're going to have to add those little slats on the inside. So I'll open this up and I'll add the double-sided adhesive, but I'm not going to remove the release paper yet. I'll also add some double-sided adhesive to either side of those slat pieces where they're going to fold and then attach to the inside of the envelope. Now once I have the adhesive all attached, I'll fold those little hinges that the die actually perforates and embosses for you, so it makes folding easier. And then I can kind of see where I'm going to place this. So I'll take off the adhesive from one side of the slat and I'll line it up with the top edge of the envelope so that it's going to sit a little further back at the top edge. And you can see I haven't put it right in the middle of that sidebar. It's a little further back. Then I'll do the same thing with the other slat, placing it a little further forward and further down. So now that I've got those attached at one side, I can remove the release paper from the other side of the two slats and on the other side of the envelope. Now I'm going to turn this, and what I want to do is fold that side over. The side, not the top of the envelope. So I folded it over, and now I'll fold over the top to attach that and adhere everything together. So I do recommend doing this piece flat. Fold it flat and then attach everything, because it's the only way you can make sure that everything is going to fold flat and go into an envelope in the end. So now here's where I'm like, I really like that triangle border and I want this on my card. So no worries, I'm taking that second triangle frame, which is what I should have used here, and I'm just cutting out the center pieces. So all of those hollies from the center, I've cut it out, so now I've just got that triangle border, and now I can attach this to what I've already attached to the inside flap, and it's going to look like a completely cohesive piece. Like I didn't make a mistake at all. Now remember, we'll be putting the poinsettias partially on top of this as well, so they'll cover up any spots that may look like I made a mistake. So let's move on to the poinsettias and start shaping them. I've got my foam mat here. I've got my tool-in-one with the larger, I think this is the medium stylus ball. And then I'm just basically shaping the leaves or the petals of the poinsettia and then pressing down in the center to kind of push it flat. Now you can see we cut out a large, medium, and small petal layer. I'll just add some glue to the center and attach these. Now I like to use the ball of the stylus just to kind of press this down and allow the glue to adhere, and it also helps shape the flower as it's drying. Now, once I've done the petals, I can go ahead and add the leaves. And I'm using my stylus to kind of just shape these a little bit. You could just use your fingers and kind of curve the ends over, which was the look I was going for. So once everything is nice and shaped in the way that I want it, I will go ahead and attach these leaves to the back of the poinsettia. Now, normally I would attach my poinsettia to my card or whatever it is that I'm making, and then I just kind of slip the leaves in underneath. But I think in this case, I do have to attach these ahead of time because it may be a little harder to attach these, especially when you're putting them on the little slats that are on the inside of the envelope. You kind of want them to be one piece already. So as I do this, I'm just adding some glue to the back of the petals of the poinsettia, and then I'm just kind of holding the leaf against the poinsettia till the glue becomes tacky, or I'll use my stylus to kind of just hold the two pieces together until they stick. Now all that's left for the poinsettia is to add that little centerpiece, which I just added some glue and used the stylus to attach. I did this for all of the flowers. You can see how the ivory and the shimmer vellum looks, and they all kind of look beautiful with the matted gold all together. Now I'm just going to put together the sentiment here. Now, as I mentioned, I have the strip with the sentiment cut out from the plum cardstock, and then I'm also going to add the gold behind that. So I'll just add a bit of glue to the sentiment strip and attach the gold behind in order to allow those letters to kind of shine through. And then once everything is nice and adhered, I can go ahead and add the details to my envelope card. So the first thing I'm going to do is add that little filigree piece, and I'm just going to attach it with a bit of liquid glue here. And once I've attached it off to the side a bit, I'll then adhere my sentiment strip with a bit of foam tape so that it has a bit of dimension. Not that it needs it, because this card has a lot of dimension as it is, right? I just thought it would help the sentiment sort of stand out a little bit more on the envelope. So I'll attach that nicely, and then all that's really left is to attach all those beautiful poinsettias. So I do recommend attaching the poinsettias with foam squares. I just find that it's a lot easier just to make it stick nicely. When you're using the liquid glue, it takes a little longer for it to get tacky. You got to hold it in place. This just makes it a lot easier. And if you can get the foam adhesive that's a bit thinner, this is perfect because you don't want to create too much bulk, especially if this is a card that you're going to send through the mail. Now, as I'm adding these poinsettias to the center slats, I just want to mention that do keep in mind that, as you add them, that your foam pieces aren't sticking out past the slat, because when you do fold it flat, it's going to stick. If that does happen, just grab some anti-static powder and put it on the back there to remove some of the stickiness. Now, my favorite part is adding all the embellishments. So I have these nail art gems here because I didn't have the right type of gem to kind of be the holly berries. I didn't want to use red because it just didn't really go with this design and the color scheme. So I actually grabbed these nail art gems that I just got off of Amazon, and they come in this light pink color, which I thought worked perfectly. And you can see I have two sets because I wanted two sizes. They don't always come with a varying amount of sizes, so I've got a larger and a smaller size so that this card can look just a little bit more natural. Now I'm just adding the gems to the holly centers so they can look like the holly berries. And I'm just putting them all around, and I'm also putting a few around the sentiment piece. And then I also decided that the center of the poinsettias, it's already glittery because I used a glitter gold cardstock. However, it didn't shine enough for me. So I actually grabbed some champagne gems, which again, these are nail art gems. You could also use the gems that are supplied by Spellbinders because those actually match really nicely as well. And I'm sorry, my head keeps getting in the way here. I just basically took the smallest size of the gems and just added them to the centers of all of those poinsettias. And that completes the envelope card, which I'll show you in a second. Now let's move on to the embossing folder. So this is the card that I made. I basically cut a blue cardstock panel, which was just a bit smaller than an A2 sized card panel. And then I foiled it using the Essential Duo Lines Glimmer Rectangle set. So the largest rectangle, I foiled it with some polished brass foil, and then I put it through the embossing folder to get the dry embossing on it. Once that was on, I wanted to highlight the embossing, and I did this using a small sponge dauber. So this is just a finger dauber, and it has like a nice small edge so I can get all of the little nooks and crannies. And I just highlighted all of the embossed or the raised areas using some Hero Arts Hero Hues unicorn white pigment ink, and then I also used some gold metallic pigment ink, and this just really helped me highlight all of the little embossed images that are on this scattered Christmas embossing folder. Now, once that was done, I then cut out the sentiment, which was done using the small die of the month, and you can see that I just used Warm Wishes and I just used the sentiment itself. I cut it out of some gold glitter cardstock and then from some white foam and attached it to give it a bit of dimension. And you can see that I backed the panel onto an A2 sized white card base. I added the sentiment, and then I also added some of the little supplemental die pieces. So I've got the branch and then the little flowers that I cut out from the same set. And that was basically it for putting it together. To finish it off, I added a few gems, and then I also added some goldenrod stickles, again, just to highlight that embossing on the folder even more and to add a bit of shine. So that's how I used the embossing folder of the month. So these are my 2 cards for today, and I really hope that you've been inspired to create something similar. Maybe you've been inspired by the alterations in the designs or by the color schemes. So I hope that you like my video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll definitely have more inspiration for the club kits for November, and I'll probably have another post on my blog, which is linked in the description if you want to subscribe there, subscribe to my YouTube channel, or also to myself on Instagram. Again, that is linked in the description below. So I hope to see you guys again next time, and have a great day. Bye.